Hi there, folks. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast of Bad Opinions. My name's Andy. This is our main man without a plan, Josh Walter. And today on the podcast, we'll be discussing the best Bruce Willis movie, the Easter candy that we all say we love, but none of us actually finish, and how me and Josh are going to solve 6 murders. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing all right. It's finally past 420, so let's try to record a podcast.
My favorite holiday of the year. I mean, Christmas and Easter and all that's nice. The food's cool, but nothing beats 420 for me.
Yeah, could you imagine getting a nice Thanksgiving dinner for 420? That would
I know people that get together and do Friendsgiving every year on 420, and they all just
that's awesome.
The biggest munchies that they can come up with. Hilarious.
There was one year where Easter fell on 420. I remember because my Facebook status was "He is resin."
I think I remember that. Oh shit! So why don't we jump right into it? Start off with the Bruce Willis movies. Now we all know this is just which version of John McClane do you like the best, and which supporting cast you actually care about. Yep. Today we're going to talk about how you hoed Red and Red 2. In the first 2 rounds, it had to get through, although arguably the worst, but a Die Hard movie, Unbreakables, and Pulp Fiction between the 2 of them in the first 2 rounds. Why are you going to do that to my favorite movie, man? Well, not my favorite.
All right, so let me defend myself for a second. Red 2 got the low rating because when I'm seeding it, I try to think of what has an actual chance to win. I don't think anybody thinks Red 2 is better than Red. It's a fine movie, but it didn't have a realistic chance of making it very far because there's a better version of it out there. And then Red, when I seeded it, there's really 8 movies by Bruce Willis that stand out. The 3 Die Hards, Pulp Fiction, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Armageddon, and Fifth Element. Red was the 9th.
See, I know that Armageddon is a Bruce Willis movie, but I think Will Smith, and that's it.
I think that's...
Oh, I'm thinking of Independence Day. I'm an idiot anyways.
Armageddon is the Ben Affleck Bruce Willis movie.
You're right. See, I haven't watched enough of these in so damn long.
Armageddon was a big deal, and it's very cheesy. Very Michael Bay.
I mean, that's a lot of Bruce Willis movies, so especially now. He's retired now, but in the last couple of years, he's taken a bunch of B movies.
Yeah,
I said he did the one here in Birmingham, where the restaurant I was working at, they had us shut down for 5 hours to have him film one tiny scene in the booth. They filmed right next door in the pawn shop next to us, and then just all over Birmingham, and could not tell you the name of this movie. I did steal something from the set, a little crew rundown sheet, but don't even know where that's at. One of my coworkers stole the my cat just decided to knock a bunch of shit off the wall. Nice.
You're our first podcast guest.
Yep. She's an asshole. But my coworker stole the cranberry juice that he was using for his fake wine in his glass.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's always weird when someone's shooting on location, like a big star. I remember when Matthew McConaughey did Free State of Jones. He was in Jackson, Mississippi, and somebody ran into him, and he had this big ass knife on him, in a Starbucks, because he was just in character grabbing some Starbucks before he went out to shoot some more.
Nice.
But it's really weird when they do those movies, which it seems weird to do a movie in Birmingham. I guess Birmingham's got enough history being with the iron industry, but it doesn't really have I don't really know how to say it, a personality that would stick out.
No, but it's got a lot of nice set pieces, especially I'm in Pelham, so I'm not quite in Birmingham proper, and there's just a lot of nice set pieces around here. You have a lot of historic restaurants and historic little areas of the city that haven't been gentrified yet that still look like 1989. Shit looks like Friday.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And most movies now are shot in Georgia because Georgia gives such large tax benefits to Hollywood. You know,
Nah.
that's why most movies are shot in Atlanta now.
Yeah, that's like Tyler Perry's studio is just outside of Atlanta, isn't it? Like his big compound where he does everything.
Yeah, almost every MCU movie where they're coming out of a house in New York City, they're actually in Atlanta.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it just makes it easier. But back to Bruce Willis. Have you ever seen Lucky Number 11?
I have not.
That is a movie I would definitely recommend for you. It's it's like a whodunit, movie with like a couple of twists and turns, and it's not perfect or anything, but like it is a fun watch. And it was like, I think it's Josh Hartnett is the main actor, but it's one of those like action movie, kind of gory, but
Yeah.
The twists and turns really make it worth it. And Bruce Willis, he's a smaller role in that movie, but he nails his part.
Let's check that out. I'll tell you a smaller one that I knew there was no way it was going to win because it's objectively a bad fucking movie, but I really actually like it for some reason. Is Surrogates.
Surrogates. Okay, I've never seen it. I didn't even know how to seed it, but whatever it was up against in the first round, it actually gave a run. So I don't think you're alone on that because it was up against a contender and it gave a run.
Eventually, it almost turns into Bruce Willis's iRobot. Like it's not the same concept, but pretty close. And again, It's just future John McClane doing John McClane shit.
Yeah.
In a world where everybody else runs around in robot skins.
There was there's a director who says if you can't describe a movie in 5 words, you don't need to have it made. And I think every Bruce Willis movie can be explained as John McClane is, and then fill it in. Fifth Element is John McClane in the future.
See, I told you earlier, I haven't seen that one yet. So when I saw it got like 2 bye weeks and got moved in, and I was like, all right, this is pretty not how we do things around here, but I guess this one just got a slide. So I might have to actually watch that.
I sincerely think that it was so big because it's one of his few PG-13 movies, and it was on TBS every weekend because you can't show Die Hard, you can't show Pulp Fiction.
No.
So
you can't even get away with showing Pulp Fiction on FX unless it's Friday night.
The group did mess up putting Die Hard 1 over Die Hard 3 because Die Hard 3 is actually the best Die Hard movie.
So I'm not a huge Die Hard fan. I've seen most of them. I think the only one I saw in theaters was Live for Your Die Hard, which is objectively the worst one. But the guys I watch stream are huge fucking fans of them. They bring it up all the time. One of them used to have a fucking jar that he called Jar McClane.
Oh my gosh.
And so I've heard about 900 hours of talking about Die Hard, and they say the same thing, that 3 is objectively the better one, but 1's just always going to win the popularity contest.
Yeah. So 3 is the one with Samuel L. Jackson in it. And have you ever heard the story about how he got the role?
I think I saw you say something about it in the comments when I was reading up earlier.
Fascinating. So when Quentin Tarantino wrote Pulp Fiction, he wrote Samuel L. Jackson's part for Lawrence Fishburne. And Lawrence Fishburne's agent told him to turn down the role because he was at a point in his career where if he was going to be a lead, he had to start taking lead roles. He couldn't be second to John Travolta. He couldn't be second billing. He had to take roles where it was about him, which makes sense, but he turned down Pulp Fiction. Well, after he turned down Pulp Fiction, the people that made Die Hard went to see Pulp Fiction to see Bruce Willis because he was their star, and they saw Samuel L. Jackson and thought, that part in Die Hard 3 we were going to cast as Lawrence Fishburne? Let's give it to Samuel L. Jackson. So Lawrence Fishburne, in one decision, missed out on Pulp Fiction and Die Hard, the Die Hard series, and he wouldn't recover until The Matrix.
Oof.
Yeah.
Talk about like looking back and wanting to strangle the people that were helping you make decisions.
Right. Which it makes sense. He was at the point where he had to be a star because he had just came off of, I can't remember, I'd have to look it up, but he was coming off some movies where it was time for him to either go for it or not. And he couldn't keep being a supporting actor. That was going to be his career. But he didn't understand what Pulp Fiction was, which is, getting back to the tourney, what made Bruce Willis great. He kept taking these roles that he might not be the lead. He may not be, who gets nominated for the Oscar, but he's going to be in that movie and you're going to remember him.
Yeah, his name is in every credit from every major like 90s movie, where there be just one small 2-second role to some giant iconic thing like Die Hard.
Yeah.
One of my favorite fucking lines of all of the older cinema is, Who's Zed? Zed's dead,
Zed's
baby. Zed's dead.
Yep. It's fantastic. He's really good in his little part in Pulp Fiction. But his was maybe the hardest tournament to make because God bless the man, but he has done some horrible movies.
Oh God, yes.
He probably has 20 that are like 15% or less on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I usually make lists. I make a list of movies that have to be in the tournament, movies that can get in if I need to even things out, and movies that I'm only grabbing if, it's an absolute necessity to get another movie in there to make it even. The list of movies that would have been an absolute like disaster if they were in was longer than the other two lists combined. Like he's not batting 50%.
Hell,
which is weird because when the group started, we were doing Will Smith and Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks, DiCaprio. Like all these people are the leads in every movie they're in. The movie's about them. Like if I say what Will Smith movie, like there is no Will Smith movie that's not a Will Smith movie.
No, it's
so
that's the difference. And I think people like Bruce Willis and those guys, like a lot of those guys, it's you're watching what Will Smith movie is it? Where like we say with him, it's what John McClane movie is it? It's a whole lot. Exactly. They have range where he's really the same angry bald white dude in most of his movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But we're getting to the point where we're out of the A-list stars and we're starting to have to grab at some people who have done some more, and you end up comparing these 5-minute spot roles to, lead roles in a worse movie, which is, it's an interesting dynamic, but it's at that point. Cause like with Tom Hanks, like every Tom Hanks movie is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And like, he's in the movie for, 65 minutes. When you think of the movie, you think of Tom Hanks. Like there is
nobody has more speaking lines than him.
Exactly.
He's the main focus of the camera at all times.
Like with Bruce Willis, even Red is an ensemble cast.
Oh yeah, Marvin is the best part of the movie.
Yeah, and that's part of why I knock movies like that a little bit down the rankings, just because even though they're maybe better, because like Pulp Fiction, it was like the 4 or 5 seed, and I expected it to make a deeper run than it did. I'm glad it did, but because it's a good movie, but it shouldn't have won this tournament.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people just vote with, I like that name better. They don't even take the time to think about it, like, the people that actually get in the comments and argue about it.
Right. It's always so funny when the comments are going one way and the vote's going a completely different way. Because which one's misinformed.
Because there are 3 people, and I'm usually one of them, that is incredibly passionate about what should obviously lose, but we don't think so.
Yep.
And we will argue with all 17 other people that would make the mistake of commenting on it, saying we're wrong.
Right.
Now,
it's
what's your favorite Bruce Willis kill in a movie?
Ooh.
Okay. I know what mine is. I don't even have to think about it.
What is it?
In Live Free or Die Hard, Bruce Willis ramps a motherfucking police car up a toll booth and kills 4 guys in a helicopter with it. And that is objectively one of the most badass things you could possibly do.
Yeah. That's a good one. Speaking of Live Free or Die Hard, like, what happened to Justin Long? Like, he was going to be the biggest thing. Like, is it just that, like, we got tired of generic white guys? Like, I don't know what else could have happened to him.
I think I remember reading something, and it's going to just been hearsay, but like he was set to be the next Hollywood guy for that kind of stuff. And then some kind of backstage thing, one bad movie or something just derailed it, and they just gave up on it.
Yeah, because he was in Accepted, Live Free or Die Hard. I'm trying to remember the other movies, but he was just, taking parts in a little bit of everything there for a couple years. And like everybody I knew loved him.
That only takes one bad movie. I mean, shit. They had Fantastic Beasts slated to have 3 more movies, and because J.K. Rowling won't shut the fuck up on Twitter, she has killed the entire franchise now. They were like, yep, nope, we're not doing any more of these because nobody come out to see this one.
Yeah, it's sad because I've heard the movies are fine. Like I haven't seen them, don't really care to. I like Jude Law, but I just don't care to. And it's lost its luster, I guess.
Yeah, I
But
think I've evolved past wanting new Harry Potter stories.
right.
And I ain't gonna lie, this new video game they got coming out, The Legacy of Hogwarts. Don't tell nobody, but I'm gonna buy that and fuck that up.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
All right, so next, I think that's probably about all we can talk about Bruce Willis right
Yeah, I
now.
think we
So let's get
exhausted
on
that
to
topic.
this candy. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a big chocolate guy, so I ain't been in most of this one, and most of the things in here are Easter only chocolate things, which makes me have even less exposure to them. But I see how we ended up where we're at.
Yep.
The
It was
final
the
result
obvious
hasn't
final.
come out now, right? It's still Reese's versus
No.
the Cadbury cream.
Yeah, Reese's is winning last time I checked, but
I
we'll
mean,
see.
I do agree with somebody in the comments that said if you're going for purely Easter, then
Right.
you have to pick Cadbury cream because you can get that same Reese's thing at every holiday, just in a different shape.
You're right. And that's a really strong point. It's hard to argue with that. But I'm a simple man. I like my shapes to change. I like my Christmas tree, little Debbie cake. I like to know what season it is by what's making me fatter.
I mean, fair enough.
But
now, I can't do the Cadbury
point.
cream eggs anyway. The cream's just not for me. If it was the caramel one, I'd go for it. But
yeah, and I don't know why I didn't put the caramel one in there. I don't know what lapse happened, but I was like,
the cream is the OG, even if everybody likes the caramel better.
Yeah, and but yeah, the real thing that has to be discussed is Starburst jelly beans are far superior to other jelly beans. And
so, go ahead, finish your point.
I'm sorry, but half of a bag of like Jelly Belly jelly beans is inedible. If it's black or purple or any of those
throw
colors,
that shit away already.
Literally, just throw them away.
If you ask me, an entire bag of Jelly Bellies is just about inedible. I might do a green one every now and then, hoping that it's green apple. But I've eaten way more Birdie Bots every flavor beans than I have ever just sat through some Jelly Bellies. But I will say the Starburst ones are fire if you like that kind of candy.
Yeah, the Starburst ones, they just changed it. They added like a real like a fruitier taste to it. It's just better.
Oh, now we all got to talk about the monster in the room. Peeps.
Oh.
Who the fuck eats Peeps? You and my children can both kiss, or all three kiss my ass. I woke up today and found both of them got a box of Peeps going to town. I'm like, why? Those go in the trash. We don't eat those.
It's not like my favorite candy or anything. And like, until I got on the internet, I was just like, yeah, Peeps are all right. I'll eat a Peep. And then it was immediately like, you've got to choose a side. You either hate these things or you'll defend them with your life. I was like, well, I don't hate them. So I guess
that is not the hill that you want to die on, Josh.
It's not.
It is cheap,
I will
plastic
literally die there
tasting marshmallow
hyperglycemia
covered in horrible flavored sugar.
They're easy to eat, and I'm not very picky, especially when it comes to sweets.
Now,
I like marshmallow a lot. I like marshmallow cream a lot. That's
fair.
Really,
but I would much rather eat like a whole jar of Stay Puft than like one Peep, and both would be a horrible experience for me. Now, I didn't see this one on there, and I know it isn't all around holiday candy, but you always see them at Easter. Did Pez make it on the?
No, that would have been a good one.
You think about it, you always see the Easter Bunny little Pez dispenser. Mm-hmm. It's in every Easter basket.
Yeah.
And the orange Pez are the shit, man.
Yeah, I feel like that's one that kids eat, though. Like, you don't see adults with Pez dispensers very often.
Yeah, true.
But
I don't know. Candy's just not my thing, dude.
Really?
Like, I love Twizzlers.
Oh my God.
But I like us because they're delicious, man. Sean, a buddy of mine or a buddy of ours got me 10 pounds of them for Christmas one year, and I had it killed in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
But like chocolate, it's too rich for me. Every now and then I'll throw down on a Snickers or a Baby Ruth, but that's about it.
I love chocolate. I'm a big chocolate person, so. But I don't know. It has to be the right chocolate. Like a Snickers bar, that's the go-to for me. If I'm like going in a gas station, like needing to grab something, I'm just going to grab a Snickers and not think about it.
I mean, you can't go wrong with it. You got caramel,
You can't,
you got
exactly.
nougat,
Got the
chocolate,
highest score
nuts,
of any candy.
and there's probably a Snickers for your special individual interest in the store too.
Yeah,
Like if you want almonds, I do like an almond Snickers.
I like almond Snickers.
I like almonds just about any kind. Like if there is an almond on it, it is immediately better. Like you will never see me eat a fucking mound. But you had me an almond joy, I'm gonna think twice about it.
I was really upset a couple weeks ago when somebody posted the like which one of these candies has to go in the trash, and almond joys are on there with like candy corn and Peeps and Mike and Ike's. I was
How
like, why is
dare
almond
you
joy here?
insult an almond joy like
I
that?
know. I was really upset about it.
Fucking shit. We got two topics we couldn't talk a whole lot about this week because candy, you can only say so much unless there's a big group of people arguing over it. Now, you have one. We're going to kind of transition into spotlighting some of the more interesting to us polls that the group itself posts.
Yeah.
And Josh, talk to me about this zipper merge.
Okay, so somebody posted a couple of days ago that it was a PSA type post about what to do when you come up to a lane closure. And according to this post, the proper way to approach it is to one car go, other car go behind, let one car in, let one car in. The point was, don't try to get over as quick as possible when you see the lane closure 1 mile ahead. I don't know how I feel about this, because if that's how they want to do it, like, I don't know, that doesn't seem to make sense. But at the heart of it, like, we really don't understand how traffic works.
No,
we have a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes traffic jams, like what creates traffic jams. Every day that I'm on the interstate, I see somebody going, 90, 95 miles per hour, not realizing that those are the cars that are going to cause the traffic jam, because eventually they have to hit their brakes.
Yep.
And if they're slowing down to 70, they're actually going to have to slow down to 60 because they have to have correction. They have to overcorrect for the car in front of them because they can't risk going the same speed. So they slow down to 60. The car behind them that's going 80 has to slow down to 50. Domino effect, everybody stopped.
Yeah, see, that's why when you brought up this zipper merge thing, it intrigued me, because in a perfect world where everybody's doing the speed limit and everybody knows what the fuck that even is in the first place, yeah, that's going to stop 100% of traffic slowdown as long as there's still a lane open and plenty of time compared to cars.
Exactly.
But Johnny fucking 16-year-old over here, whose dad never gave him a driving lesson in his life, and he bullshitted his way into the fucking exam, has no clue what you're talking about. And he is just going to slam that bitch over as fast as he can so that he ain't got to stop doing 90.
Exactly. And then there is so the crux of this relies on the cars that are already in the lane, not the lane closed, but the lane that's still going. It relies on every one of those cars to let someone over in front of them. And I don't think you could find 3 cars in a row that would let somebody over in front of them.
If I'm one of them, you damn sure can. And like, I'm a safe driver. Like, me and the old lady get into it all the time. She's the one doing 90. And I'm doing my 75 in the right lane so that everybody can fast lane can just piss on by.
Right.
But when it comes down to traffic, this is my road. Like, I'm gonna let you do your thing, but you ain't gonna fuck me.
You have your space. Yeah, and exactly. And that's the thing, is like, that the entire idea of a zipper merge relies on a reality that does not exist.
Hey, what do you do with a motorcycle in there that's legally riding between lanes?
Mm-hmm. What do you do about, because eventually a car is going to get up to the end and then not be able to merge over because every car in the other lane won't let them over. And then when that car does actually get to merge, they're merging from 0 miles per hour. Everything stops.
Yeah. So now you create a whole nother traffic jam behind that car that got stuck up there trying to do the right thing.
Exactly. You're stopping traffic more than the person that swerved over into traffic, and everybody behind them had to hit their brakes, but traffic kept going.
So yeah, in a perfect world, it sounds great, but it's just not applicable to real life.
Right. Maybe once we have autonomous vehicles, that can be a thing, but Not
It ain't happening while you got people in charge.
exactly.
To be human is to err, and we do it a lot.
Yep.
Especially when
on
we're
the road.
driving and you got your cell phone in one hand, your sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit in the other, two kids in the back seat screaming. You ain't got time to pay attention to all that. Oh, traffic jam. Get on over.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. I don't know, but I think a lot about how much we put into road construction in general. Like how, like, I feel like I couldn't make most trips without hitting construction of some kind.
If
And
you're
it,
on a major highway at some point, you are going to be slowed down to 40 or 50 miles an hour and be waved through.
right. And like, I don't know, like with anything that requires that much spending, I assume there's major kickbacks and like,
Oh, yeah.
there's a reason that it's always going on. But I'm sure there is actual maintenance that needs to be done. But a lot of it is just a misunderstanding of traffic and how traffic works.
A lot of it's infrastructure problems too, because
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely some kickbacks and some dirty business happening on roads and shit. But like,
Yeah,
also, you can't shut down a major stretch of like the middle of Birmingham on 65 for even 5 hours to re-asphalt the whole thing properly. You just got to get out there, patch the shit, and close the lane down for 30 minutes, let it dry, and move on.
well, it's just like, I mean, like city planners fail to understand like their citizens, and it's a big problem. Like, look at Huntsville. Like 565 is huge to get back to 65, but they also added the part in Decatur, I guess thinking that like there was going to be traffic going to Decatur, but that part's a dead zone, always has been.
Yep.
But and like the other side of Huntsville, the other side of I'm completely blanking, the other side of downtown, like they gave almost nothing to that, 15 years ago when Huntsville exploded, and that's where all the population growth was.
Yep.
It's
As soon as you get past the space, once you get past downtown, I guess the
right,
road
yeah,
shrinks back down to 2 fucking lane, and there's
exactly.
just nothing.
But people were more attracted to going towards the Scottsboro area as like people, as people started to sprawl, there was more suburban movement in Huntsville. They didn't go towards Decatur. They went towards Athens a little bit, but that's more Madison.
Yeah.
But and like Huntsville's not even that messed up. Like,
oh, dude,
there's
when's
some
the last
cities.
time you were in Huntsville?
It's honestly probably been 4 or 5 years.
Dude, so it's blown up to about twice the size it was, or at least felt like it since you left. And there's no infrastructure for any of it. So it's just 50,000 cars on a road system that is designed for a third of that at max, right, all just fighting for fucking right away at all times. I drive around just as easy down here in fucking Pelham and in Birmingham as I did up there before I left.
Dude, that's interesting because you grew up in Huntsville, right? Or around Huntsville. So you saw it go from, fourth biggest city to biggest city in Alabama.
So the stretch of road from Athens, the stretch of 72 that goes from Athens, really not even Athens, from County Line Road, all the way down to University Walmart, like the older school where Cheddar's and all that shit was. I can tell you in just 28 short years of life, when almost none of the shit that is there now was there.
Right.
You drove to Huntsville to go to Walmart. Now there are 3 of them within a 5-minute stretch from where I grew up at. Like
2 super targets.
2 super targets. There's a hospital there now.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. It was all cornfields when I was a kid.
Wow. I remember going to Huntsville as a kid and my parents being like, there used to be nothing here. But it's wild. Like Huntsville, like, and eventually, everybody says that growth is going to catch up, and I'm sure it has. I'm sure it's hitting Huntsville hard, but it's wild, like how much Huntsville grew, like overnight.
Well, you had so many tech companies that brought a lot of their workforce here one time, and you had like the FBI that brought in like 25,000 people. Facebook opened a data center. All the stuff on the arsenal is constantly hiring like civilian contractors and shit. And you can't, Huntsville's a really smart city, even though it's in yeehaw ass Alabama. You
Right.
can't source all of that from Huntsville. So they're
Mhm.
bringing in all these missile scientists shit from all over the country. So it's ever growing in its steady military industrial complex. And now tech is just taken over. And I mean, Facebook could potentially infinitely keep growing their data center there and adding
Right.
20,000 people a year to it if they wanted to.
Yeah, and it's not good. Like it's a good thing up to a point, but it's past that point.
It's nice that there's a Dave and Buster's there, and they just got a fucking $3 billion fucking entertainment center where Madison Square Mall used to be. But
I remember that.
The crowd to go enjoy all of that is going to be fucking awful in a town full of people that 10, 15 short years ago didn't have to deal with any of that.
Right. Yeah. And I know, like, if you look up the population growth in just Madison, it went from a legitimately like community to, probably the size of like Hoover or Pelham.
Yeah. Dude, Bob Jones used to be big enough to more than sustain the amount of people that went there.
Yeah.
And now they have a whole nother high school to keep up with it. And I hear James Clemens is overcrowded already. So
I've heard the same. All right. Well, we got a little off topic. Hope people enjoy the history of Huntsville.
Yeah. At least one derailing episode, but bring it on back around. Let's talk about how we're going to solve these murders.
So I don't know how many people have heard about it. It was a craze a couple of months ago. It's a book called Cain's Jawbone. So Cain's Jawbone was written 1900s. And in 1934, a prize was offered to the first reader who could reorder the pages and provide the correct murders to 6 murders. And I said reorder the pages because the pages to this mystery murder are out of order. You have to cut them out, figure out the order, and put them in the correct order to figure out who solved what and who. I mean, I think it tells you who was murdered, but you're basically saying who murdered who.
Yeah, and you got to get 6 different murderers, or potentially 6 different murderers.
Yes. And I think it's been around for almost 100 years. It was 1934, so 88 years, and it has been solved 4 times. It blew up because when the pandemic started, I don't want to mess this up, but I think he does puzzles for the New York Times. Basically spent the first few months of quarantine solving it. And it took him a couple of months to figure it out. And he was like, I figured it out. So now it's came back and there's been a lot of people attempting it, but it's
correct me if I'm wrong. I just kind of glanced through the beginning of it earlier, but isn't there like still a prize if you solve it and can prove it?
Yep. There is the company that bought the rights to publish this one is giving out $350 in website credit to whoever can send them the correct one. You just send them a picture of the sheet that they give you. So I thought it was an interesting idea. I doubt, the chances of actually solving it are low, especially with so many kids. But me and Andy talked about it. We're going to try to solve Cain's Jawbone.
Yeah, so he brought it up to me one night when we were just doing our late night bullshitting that made this whole podcast become a thing. And I was like, dude, because I've been reading a whole lot here lately. And I was running out of, I think I was just finishing the books up and running out of shit to read.
Yep.
And you were like, well, dude, I'm doing this. And I was like, well, fuck, let's win us some money and solve us some murders. And then I got the book today because my lovely better half decided to surprise me with it. And I went, oh, this is going to take a long time. Because, I mean, there is no semblance of order whatsoever if you just pick it up and look at it. It's a chart on one page and then words on another. And then the next page, none of the words even have anything to do with the page before.
No.
So,
and it's
like, I'm going to take over my kitchen table for about the next 6 months till we get this shit figured out.
Yeah, at some point during this podcast, there'll be strings running behind me with pages, clothespin to them.
Hell yeah, invest in some corkboard.
Yep. You'll probably see that right back there.
There's going to be lots of like late night Zoom calls where we're just like, hold on, but no, this makes more sense if this is here.
Yep. It's just interesting because there's so few things that you can do in earnest today because everybody can just look it up online. Everybody can find the answers and pretend like they did it. And like, there's so few things that you can do that you're earnestly doing something that you can't cheat at. And as far as I know, there's no answers to this on the internet. There's no answers to this anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, if only 4 people have done it and only one of them still like and would even know how to use a computer,
right?
right?
I'm imagining. that that's how it was, but I really don't know.
I mean, I just don't see anybody that solved it in the 50s or 60s tweeting about it. So
Right. But it's fun to have something to work at that, the internet can't put its claws into and become cynics about.
yeah, I'm also excited because it's like a way for me and you to hang out for the first time in fucking 5 years or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So this will be a
The
cool
social
thing.
aspect of that'll be cool.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we have, I think, run through our topics. I think the only thing left to talk about is to be on the lookout for the next big tournament, which is the Tournament of Champions. And Josh, you're still working on putting that together now, right?
So I've decided with this tournament, since it is not really going to be possible to seed because it is a more objective tournament or subjective tournament, I've just decided to randomize the order. So I have the tournament ready to go. It's 128 entries, which will break down to 64 in round 2, 32 in round 3, 16, 8, 4, and then the final. So it's going to be a long one. It'll probably be a 2-week tournament, but I'm excited to get into it, just see how people vote. I'm really interested to see how people vote on like how people weigh like this food they like versus this song they like.
It's just your personal importance, and it's
right.
No longer like you're not doing this on any kind of facts of how much the movie sold. It's like, how much does this mean to you?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you compare cheesecake to Step Brothers?
Yeah.
Like, how do you compare? Like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an interesting test. And like always, even though it's completely up to the voter, I expect to, believe that most of you are wrong and believe that strongly.
And I am 100% sure that will absolutely be the case, as we all end up throwing verbal haymakers at each other over mashed potatoes in the next tournament. Which, when can we expect you to get that one going up? I know we still got to finish up the Easter candy one right now.
The Easter one ends tonight. I should post the tournament tomorrow and probably start posting polls the next day. I usually limit it to 16 posts per night because more than that gets overwhelming, but it should start up not tomorrow, not Thursday night, but Friday night.
All right. So I'm not exactly sure when we'll get this one posted. We're actually recording this one at about 1:30 in the morning, Thursday morning. So I don't know if we're going to be working with Megan on graphics on this one or not. I guess we'll have to talk to her about that. So you'll either see this the day before he starts posting these, or like the day of, maybe day after.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me on again. It's wonderful to run the show here with you, Josh.
And one last thing, I just want to, get a little more meta with it. But the first podcast, getting it up, it was we're really excited. It was a huge success.
I really appreciate all the love. Do in numbers, like it's awesome.
It's easy to forget that people actually enjoy these conversations and enjoy these topics and enjoy these discussions. So seeing people support this and reach out and want to
and we didn't get a single asshole about it either, which made it feel a whole lot better. Because it would have been real easy for somebody that thought it was stupid to just get on there and make us feel like shit about it, and nobody did.
You're right. It really does mean a lot. This is an idea that we've had for a while. I think it came up probably 3 years ago, and it was always something we wanted to do. We never expected it to be successful. It was just a way, like Andy said, for us to hang out and have something to do. And the fact that you guys actually enjoyed it, supported it, helped us boost the numbers, we appreciate that a lot. I hope the rest of them, I hope that y'all stick around and actually enjoy these discussions.
So again, if you have any comments, tips or things you think we could do better or replace, always let us know down in the comments, or feel free to let us know on the page itself in the comments when we post this up. But it's been a great conversation and kicking it with you tonight, Josh. And
same to you.
Podcast number 2 in the books, my guy.
All right.
Well, we will see you guys probably next week. Let's get these tournaments going. Remember to stay in the polls.